Rachel. I'm just doing my response post for the second module. I just want to go through a couple things that you guys touched on. I'll start with Tamara. I really liked how you talked about the exploration and the commitment pieces of Marcia's ego identity theory. I think the one I've kind of touched on this the most, that I most relate to, is probably that commitment and attaching ownership to values. I think I've mentioned this before, but it was a lot to explain to my parents' graduate school and kind of the worth of it and why I wanted to do it, and really kind of sticking up for myself to do that. So that's what I kind of most relate to in regards to that theory. I also appreciated when you talked about reflective judgment and kind of the stages, pre-reflective thinkers. Hold on, I want to get to the page. Quasi-reflective. So when I think about this and how I've kind of seen it, I relate it to, for my internship, I'm helping with a uni class, which is for all freshmen, for anyone that doesn't know. And it's just really interesting because a lot of them, most of them I think, are probably in the pre-reflective thinkers, where they kind of don't always recognize the issues, the real problems, I guess, that are going on. I mean, I think to an extent they think they know, or they would, want to give their advice, but to the extent that they really fully kind of understand it, it's not there yet. So it's been interesting for me as far as teaching and touching on topics, especially like social justice related, and they're like not able to really kind of understand the bigger picture. So I just thought that was interesting how you touched on that. Next, Megan, and your discussion, I liked how you kind of talked about, you also talked about James Marcia's ego identity, but also Jocelson's theory as it relates to women. I think that's so interesting, thinking about the different roles and identities that women have to play and how those change so much as we get older and have families and have more things that we're trying to balance, and what our identity really wants to be. So I also think that it's interesting kind of reading the descriptions and kind of how they were in their college years and then how they were 10 or 20 years later. I think I found myself reading those and being like, well, that's probably what I was like during college, so is that automatically what I'm going to be like in a few years? So I think at this point I would consider myself a path maker. I don't think that I've really kind of had, and maybe, I guess it might not be future enough for me to describe this, but feeling an intense identity crisis, I don't think that I've really, I've at points have kind of been like, is this going to work or whatever, but I think those options have been, I've explored those somewhat silently and just trying to figure out what is the best fit. So I enjoyed that as well. Chris, I really, really liked your post and how you talked about developmental ecology. I think that's such an interesting theory, and it's so different from most of the other ones that we learn. So I just appreciated how you pointed out, just pretty much describing the theory and how you take race and background and culture out of it, and you're really just focused on that individual in their environment. So you talked about your story, and I think it's so interesting. We may have preconceived notions about what a first-generation student is supposed to do, or how they're supposed to engage, or whatever. And I wonder, are we giving them a fair chance when we're already assuming, oh, this is how we guess that they'll probably fit into the college environment. So I thought that was really interesting, because we may, as professionals, subconsciously expect a student to get involved in certain things, or expect that a student might need assistance in these areas, or and I think that's not necessarily always the case. So it was just interesting that you mentioned that. And then finally, Brandy, you talked about Erickson's development and kind of the stages that you thought you were in, coming out of 5 and into 6. I would agree with that. I think my stage 5, it kind of came not early on, but probably like my sophomore year, where I was kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? Why am I in college? Trying to kind of figure that out. I also think, a big part of the stage 6 feeling prepared to, developing those intimate relationships, and then also feeling comfortable in starting to isolate yourself from things that might not be beneficial or useful in your new relationship. So that's just interesting, I think, coming from college and then also being in a sorority where I pretty much had 150 friends, but just kind of as time goes on, and those that you connect with and those that you lose touch with, and kind of finding out who really is important and which of those relationships kind of just need to fizzle out and move forward. So I appreciated you talking about that as well. That is all I really have. I've enjoyed the module, and I look forward to hearing your posts. Thanks.